Extratime, driven by Continental.
TMZ, oh my goodness.
I mean, what are we doing here?
I think he's the philosopher of football.
It's great that everyone can give their opinion.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Find me. Find me. I don't care anymore. So drain my bank account.
Everybody up here, every single day, goes into the office, into the laboratory, to try to cook up some great stuff for you guys.
That's why he's here.
Oh, from New York, you are listening to Extra Time, driven by Continental from the MLS studios in Midtown Manhattan. I'm Andrew Wiebe with my partners in soccer, Matt Doyle, David Goss, Bobby Warshaw. Week one of the books. That's what it's all about. Real soccer. Soccer for points, the kind that I like to watch most. 41 goals in 12 matches in week one in MLS. Just one shutout. Who got that shutout? Well, I guess who suffered the shutout? Atlanta United, the defending champions.
I think everyone had that pick.
Yeah, that was the prop bet that we all put all of our money right in the middle of the table on. Right, Bobby? Yeah? That was the smart money? No?
Yeah, your form's a little off, but we'll get there.
Got it. I'll figure that part out. Big show coming, but a little news for you. Of course, this is our core group, our starting 11, 4, whatever it is, but we are freshening things up. We're rotating the squad a little bit this year.
Peter I got Vermees, old legs. I'm out on Thursdays.
Yeah. Peter Vermees wouldn't be into that, but I'm the manager here, and I am. So Susanna Collins.
Chris Armas type.
Yeah, I am. Susanna Collins here on Thursday for the first time on Extra Time. It's going to be awesome. Caitlin Carr will fill in. Charlie Davies will fill in this year. We're going to have a great time. Coming up on this show, week one, top to bottom. Everything you need to know after these 12 games got the 2019 season kicked off. We're going to talk to Crew owner Dr. Pete Edwards about Christmas and Save the Crew and the future of this club. Sam Stachel, the Bird Dog, will drop by. Alejandro Pozuelo, that is official. He has the details there for Toronto FC. We've got the CCL preview. CCL Fever continues this week on Tuesday and Wednesday. And we've got the mailbag in which we are going to award our first signed jersey. And we have a unique way of doing this, Dave.
While you're doing this, by the way, Bobby's complimenting my pants, which no one can see.
Nice. This is a trash bag full of signed MLS jerseys, and we will stick a hand in there and rummage around for the person that won.
What level player are we talking about with these signed jerseys?
We're talking Rooney. We're talking Schweinsteiger. We're talking Kaku, BWP, Diego Rossi, Kai Kamara.
I have an idea.
I mean, we're talking the who's who. This is media marketing. This was the stars. We did not get Carlos Vela, which kills me, but, you know.
Why don't we grab a phone booth, bring it in here. We drop the jerseys from the top. We oil Doyle up with Crisco head to toe. We start blowing fans from every direction.
What is happening here?
Whichever one he can grab is what they win.
It's just a Las Vegas Lights game.
No.
You're out of Las Vegas Lights.
It's clear that that's what the people want to see.
I mean, if Ilama's involved, then yeah, I'm in. Okay. But otherwise, no.
All right. That image in your head, we will now turn to
what
soccer.
What just happened?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Whatever's going on up here, I'm not
sure. Guys, it's week one. I'm ready to rock.
Exactly. Okay, favorite thing from week one in MLS. What is it? It can be anything. It could be a play. It could be a team. It could be something in the crowd. It could be whatever demented thing Bobby comes up with. And what's it going to be, Bobby?
No, I'll happily take Bob Bradley's jacket.
Wow.
Phenomenal
jacket.
Phenomenal jacket.
Barn coat? Would you call it a barn coat? Is it a bomber? Is it dark green?
It was a pseudo barn coat and bomber. It had the bomber cut, but the barn coat material.
Do we think that LAFC gave him a stylist as part of that job?
Well, so it was his birthday. So it may have been his birthday jacket. Everyone gets a jacket for the
nice
birthday.
jacket.
It was.
Yeah.
I would be shocked if there was not a stylist for Bob Bradley.
Yeah.
Bob looks great, though.
And he does.
If you're watching, Bob, you look great. You look really good. Oh, yeah, we're on YouTube. That's another note.
Yeah, and the team looked pretty good, too. Second half. First half, they struggled.
God, stop talking about soccer. No one cares.
But my week one, I mean, my favorite thing from week one is I picked LAFC for the Supporter Shield, and they got 3 points. And I picked DC United for MLS Cup, and they got 3 points and looked really freaking good doing it.
Predictions paying off.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
Money in the bank,
I think you're
guys.
pandering to yourself there. I got to say that. Mine is goals. I said it. 41 goals in 12 games. That's what we watch for, and in a small part at least. And then it's Snowmageddon, Snow Classico, whatever you want to call it.
Snow Classico 3.
Yeah, they didn't go to Cabela's probably, whoever was. Maybe some people there, throw back to 2013 MLS Cup. But 12 degrees according to Kai Kamara, a 3-3 game. It was wild. It started out with very little snow and an orange ball.
Do we trust Kai Kamara more, or do we trust the actual meteorologists and thermostat?
Kai Kamara.
at Dick's Sporting Good Park, which
I'm
said
going Kai
it's
Kamara.
18 degrees.
I don't think Kai Kamara has.
Why is Kai chopping?
Because Kai's giving you real feel. He's not wasting your time on temperature. He's giving you
Right.
real feel at
Exactly.
kickoff because he knows.
He has nothing to gain by exaggerating here.
Yeah, Kai's been
Absolutely
working PR for
nothing.
years. He knows how to build notes.
Nothing to gain. What do you like, Dave? What's your favorite thing?
It's got to be the boy wonder, Efra Alvarez. Comes off the bench, gets the crowd going, gets LA Galaxy a win. Been watching this kid for over 2 years. He's incredible. He does things that no other player at that age I've ever seen do. And he's the biggest star on the LA Galaxy.
Oh, Ibra's not agreeing with that. I think Ibra was like, oh, yeah, sometimes I have to slap him upside the head and tell him, hey, stay focused.
That was actually pretty cool at the end after the game. Efra's doing the interview. I forget who it was with.
I think with the Galaxy.
With the Galaxy, yeah. And he comes over and he's a 16-year-old kid who just had an assist in his first MLS game, and he's pretty happy and everything. And Zlatan comes over and slaps him in the back of the head and says, "Don't talk too much," and walks away. And Efra smiles, and you can see him sort of glowing. And then you see it dawn on him. It's like, oh, he was serious.
Right.
Oh, all right.
And then when you listen to the interview, he says nothing about himself. He's like, great team performance. I just want to help the team. It's a beautiful thing. 3 points. Nothing about the fact that he finally got on the field, that he had a beautiful left-footed assist, that the chop to get to that point was incredible.
The chop was Preki-esque.
It was.
Preki-esque.
So now it's about management, Bobby. And Guillermo Barros Schelotto, after this game, just like Ibra came over and gave Efra a little bit of ice, came to Efra and had his arm around his shoulder. And that's what you love to see. A legendary number 10, now the head coach, finding a way to develop similar talent and putting him on a path. What's that path?
What Zlatan's alluding to, saying don't talk too much, is this balance between confidence and continuing to keep your head down and work hard. Because the only reason you get that much talent by the time you're 16 is how hard you work to get there and the 10,000 hours you put into that point. And he's already built the confidence by getting those goals. Now, the question is, how do you continue to edge along that balance as the head coach? And for me, it's not starting him. It's continuing to get him in for 20, 25 minutes for the rest of the season. Everyone out there tweeting, talking about, put him into the starting lineup, getting him more minutes. I think they are dead wrong. I think GBS did this exactly right. Bring him on in positions that he can succeed right now at age 16, and that is when the Galaxy is down in open games. When he's 17, and he's still just 17 next season, then you can start to get him more minutes. But I hope throughout 2019 that they don't rush him along and they ease him in positions that he can succeed.
Totally agree with Bobby. I totally agree with Bobby on this. I think using him as a second-half super sub is the correct usage of him. We saw the way he changed the game.
What if it's not for the team, though?
I mean,
Emil Cuello started this game out of SMU.
All right. And I understand what you're saying. There are obviously going to be some more additions for the Galaxy. Sebastian Lletget is coming back. Romain Alessandrini is not going to be hurt the whole year, hopefully. But most importantly, with Efra, you could see it. He's not fit. If you talk to the Galaxy players, if you talk to the people around the Galaxy, they'll say, yeah, he's a 16-year-old kid. He didn't come to camp fit. He couldn't play. He probably couldn't even play 60 minutes at an MLS level. So I think this was right from Schelotto. He recognized Efra's talent, and he used that talent to its best ability, but don't fast-track him because he's not there yet physically.
What does it say about the Galaxy now, under Dennis Ciclosa, under GBS, Dave, that in their very first MLS match, this guy got his debut? We have talked for years about the fact that LA just don't get enough from the investment and from the talent in SoCal.
Yeah, it means that, one, they believe in him, but two, they know that they're setting a tone for the future. Not everything about 2019 is about 2019. Dennis Ciclosa is having a lot of tough conversations with families and with kids about staying with the Galaxy, about coming to join the Galaxy, that's a pathway to be a professional in that area. And he's seen players already under him leave and go to European academies. So he knows how tough it is, and I think this is setting a tone not just for Efra, who deserves this, who is good enough, but for the Galaxy to say, we are a club that will play young players. We're a club that can bring in guys like Zlatan, can bring in guys like Jonah, and still give you a shot to be the best player in your career. And I think Dennis Ciclosa, we've talked to him a couple of times, is going to be fantastic at this, but it's good to see the relationship between him and Guillermo Barros Schelotto good enough that Schelotto understands what the bigger picture is, and it's not just game to game.
Talent is not in doubt. And Ibra said it. He's like, I don't know that there's a 16-year-old in this league that's anywhere close to Efra Alvarez. They do still have USL. So that's the other thing to remember here. Even though we're saying, hey, bring him off the bench, take it slow, he's still going to get a ton of minutes. He's still going to play against men.
I do question whether or not he's going to get USL minutes.
Really?
He looks good enough for MLS as a super sub.
I get that, but
if you have that kid to bring him on for 20, 30 minutes every week, even every other week, and he gets 1,000 minutes doing that and whatever minutes he gets at the youth national team level with Mexico, that's good. That is good. Like playing high leverage minutes, because he wasn't finishing off a 4-0 win. He came in, they were 1-0 down, right?
At home.
At home.
Needed that win.
Opening day. Like those are high leverage minutes. That matters a lot.
And Andrew, I want to put into tangible terms. We often talk about, is a young player ready? And we use these vague ideas. Well, just to put in a few tangible concepts. One is transitions, that soccer more than ever is about these transition moments when the ball turns over from defense to offense or offense to defense. Young players are still behind veterans in that. Just having your brain trained.
Someone should let Marco Fabian and Harris Medunjanin know.
For sure. That. You can provide an example here or there, but overall, young players just aren't as good at veterans at that. The second is defensive positioning. Where am I to block lanes? How do I get in front of players? When do I pressure the ball? When do I stop? And yeah, veteran players fail at that sometimes, but all in all, those are the two places where young players who, if you're doing a passing drill, if you're playing a 6v6 game, a lot of the time 17-year-olds are just as good as any veteran across the world, but it's in those two details. And as Matt pointed out a couple weeks ago, 97% of actions, or something, 87 out of 90 minutes are off the ball, and those are the parts that young players...
You like that quote.
I love that.
Actually, Bobby, he lives by that quote.
He panned that quote, and now he's bringing it out. I like it, though. Efra, his first appearance at MLS, gets an assist. The Galaxy win, a big performance from them. I'm sure we'll talk about them more in just a little bit. I want to talk about Cincinnati, their very first match in Major League Soccer. It's not going to be easy for them. We knew it wasn't. We knew going to Seattle was going to be difficult, that they could get blown off the field if they were not sound defensively. And what do you know? They win up 1-0. Bertone with one of the goals of the weekend, if not the best goal of the weekend. Like, close your eyes. You're not going to see this volley hit the back of the net. But then Seattle showed their quality. 4-1. It doesn't get any easier from here. It's Atlanta next week. It's Portland at home to open up Nipper the week after that. Every week is going to be a big test for this team. How do they survive? And, Bobby, is what they did in this match good enough to survive?
Ooh. How do I? No, the bottom line is no, right? The way they came out in this game, which was trying to press a little higher, trying to get pressure on the ball. I understand the mindset. It's your first game. You want to come into things with a we're not scared of anyone mentality, right? You come into your first game of Major League Soccer and you sit deep and you remain compact. What statement does that give to your players and your organization? And yet at the same time, it was so flawed in every single soccer way. So I understand why Alan Koch did it, and yet they were just exposed. They tried to have a higher line. They tried to get pressure on the ball. They didn't have athletic players enough. They clearly hadn't worked on their spacing. And after that goal, the Sounders just tore them apart in every single way. So I'm a firm believer that FC Cincinnati can make it into the playoffs. And if you don't think they can, then you weren't watching MLS in 2016 when the Colorado Rapids almost won Supporter Shield, right? Because that 11 wasn't that much better, if better at all, than this Cincinnati team. But you have to deploy your players in the right way. So I understand why Koch did what he did, but at the same time, it was wrong. It was a poor decision.
13 minutes in.
No, it was genius.
Why is that?
Because it's all about where you end up. If you start here, it's easier to get improvement.
Wow. What did you make of week one?
David Goss.
Ben Bear, see the doubt.
Exactly. You've seen us. We were terrible. Don't worry about us.
Yeah. Oh, my God. We only lost 1-0. We got so much better.
Cincinnati in week one. Cincinnati in the future.
I agree with everything Bobby just said. I do think it calls into question some of the roster building a little bit. If you look at this team, they didn't really have a left back. Like, okay, maybe you're going to use an inverted left back because that's where Deplan played, and like he could come inside and be an extra midfielder. But if you're doing that, you already have six defensive midfielders on your roster. So it all feels so ad hoc, and I don't think ad hoc can win in MLS in 2019. Bobby referenced that 2016 Rapids team, and you're right, they weren't super talented, but they were super structured. And it was basic, right? It was just get men behind the ball and then hit on the break, but that's still something. And there was balance, and I'm not sure that Cincinnati has that at all.
I just think the whole conversation about their roster build was smoke compared to the actual conversation we should be having, which is way more interesting around soccer. This roster, as we learned from Colorado 2016, is good enough to accomplish their goals as an expansion franchise.
The league is so much different than 2016.
Is it?
It is. I really think it is.
I wholeheartedly disagree with that, and I think you could still set this team up to succeed, but how they have to do it properly.
By the way, I will say it seems like they're about to get Kenny Seth, the U.S. national team winger / playmaker from Anderlecht. He hasn't fit in well there, but he had a couple good years in Belgium. I think he will help them in terms of giving them an attacking focal point, an attacking fulcrum in the final third, maybe give them a little bit of creativity and get them out of some of those jams that, like, Victor Ulloa is a good player. He's not really equipped to do that. The other guys that they had out there, not really equipped to do that.
We kind of buried the lead here, by the way. We went Cincinnati, and it was their first game. You got to talk about it. But Jordan Morris, after not playing soccer in 500 some days, comes back and scores 2 goals in a season in which we were talking to him on this very show on Thursday about being more of a provider, Dave. Well, that didn't last.
Although I think the first goal was an attempt at being a provider.
Yeah, I think it was too.
So
that was a pass.
He had it on his mind, but all the other things we talked about going into this was what he can do with his speed to change the shape of the field for the Seattle Sounders, what he can do off of Nico Lodero, what he can provide in terms of space for Victor Rodriguez to work. All of that came to fruition. Now, I honestly think if we put Doyle out there, he maybe could have had some luck against Alvis Powell with the way they played.
Well,
I've never seen Doyle run.
Alvis was...
Well, had just had a bad game. And so there was so much space to operate where Victor Rodriguez was playing and where Jordan Morris picked up a lot of his time coming off the right side, going to that left side. But he finished one with his left foot. He finished one with his right foot. That's pretty exciting to see for Jordan Morris. The speed was there, which is huge to see coming off an ACL surgery. And it's a better team because he was on the roster and they just didn't have him. It's not like they're replacing Clint Dempsey with Jordan Morris. They just didn't have Jordan Morris. So you're just adding another talented attacking player and a player who brings a little bit of a different asset to this team, and they just looked really comfortable.
No Ozzie Alonso, but this was not a game, I don't think, in which you were going to look at the Sounders and say, well, we now know if they're okay at defensive midfield. Matt, I want you to tackle this angle. The U.S. national team angle, because he made his way into camp. He just didn't get to participate, but he got a little bit of a crash course from Greg Berhalter. Is Jordan Morris, come this summer, come Gold Cup, come World Cup qualifying down the line, is he a guy that you expect to be in the squad?
I do, because he has 25 caps already. He has experience, and if you look at the way Berhalter set the team up in those 2 games, which I think there was like real intention behind setting up the team the way he did with the inverted fullback and Baird way out on the touchline. Like, you could play Jordan Morris in that Corey Baird role. He doesn't touch the ball a lot. All you're asked to do is be honest with your width and checking back defensively when you need to. And once you get to the final third, you dive inside and you either provide the cross to the trailing runner or you get to the back post and put the ball in.
Sorry, Weeby's drinking from a straw next to me. It's hard not to laugh.
What's wrong with that? Why can't I drink out of straws?
Anyway, I think Jordan Morris is there. I don't think he's a starter, but maybe if he scores 2 goals a game, he will be.
Yeah, me drinking out of a straw, a joke to you?
Yeah.
Just trying to stay hydrated here, all right? Yeah. All right, Jordan Morris, maybe the standout of the week, maybe the player of the week. We shall see. What individual performances stood out to you guys in week 1? Bobby, we'll start with you.
I really liked what Safir Taider did in Montreal, the impact getting the 2-1 win in San Jose. I'm just a sucker for players like Taider, guys. The players that can do everything, right? They're not attackers, they're not defenders, they can do everything at above average level. And he is just this guy that provides so much energy along with the skill to his team. So I'm a huge Taider fan. I'm excited to see what he does.
Also, on the back of that, this game was oddly chippy. And he was like in it.
Not oddly.
I know.
Yeah, not oddly.
But he was at the center of it, and he was talking a lot, and I liked it.
It'll be odd if every Quakes game isn't super chippy. I can't wait for the Quakes versus the Red Bulls.
Yeah.
Let the bodies hit the floor with that.
Just one matchup? That's a shame.
Yeah.
What about you, Doyle?
For me, it was Efra Alvarez the 6. And it's like you can't take much away from that game in terms of shape or function. First, because they were playing with 10 men for most of it. And second, because it was played in 4 inches of snow.
That's what I was going to go with, too.
Yeah.
Like, the eye test, I was like, I think that's about 4 inches.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't – but like the Rapids looked fun. And Benny just – leaning into the idea of himself as a defensive midfielder by choosing the 6 for his number. That felt a little bit tongue in cheek to me, and I respect that.
You know, my favorite part about Benny is we hear this cliche from coaches: I need problem solvers, I need leaders, and not many players are, but Feilhaber legitimately is.
On the field, absolutely.
Yeah. He's this guy, and to a certain extent, as much as I loved seeing him in Bob Bradley's system, the fact that the system was so directed, I think actually didn't get the best out of Benny. He needs to have a little bit more autonomy to solve problems, and that's what we saw this weekend. We saw a guy that was in a mess of a game and still found a way to shine and help organize his team.
He didn't like that game either. It was like, that's not a real soccer game. I don't like these conditions. This is not for me, but he made the most of it. Who were you watching, Dave?
Jordy Mihailovic. We talked about him a lot coming out of U.S. national team camp.
Georgie, not Jordy.
What did I say, Jordy?
Yeah.
Jordy Reyna. I don't know.
Yeah.
Jordy LaForge.
I don't know who that is.
Keep going.
I knew you were going to get so upset the moment you said something. We talked about him. He scored a goal for the U.S. national team, but when I watched him play, he was a guy who could affect a game but not control a game. And so he didn't look like, to me, what his future was to be a true number 10 that pulls the strings and that you play through. And he was that for 45 minutes, if not 60 in this game. They should have won this game. If Nikolic is in there, I think they do win this game because of the chances they created. But the game went through him. He was the hub. When he touched the ball, good things happened. He had his head on a swivel. He found channels on the right and left side. He didn't fall in love with one side and keep going the same way. He pulled defenders out. So I thought he had a great game. And if you're Veljko Paunovic, you have to look at this over the next 2-3 weeks, how he plays in this position, and consider where you're putting other guys. Because if Mihailovic is playing this way, he's a better player at that position than Katai. And just because you spent that money on Nico Gaitan doesn't mean that Jordy Mihailovic has to get pushed out of that position.
Gaitan not done, but Paul Tenorio reporting that it's moving along. He thinks it'll probably happen. Mine is going to be, and I learned this from you, Doyle, when you don't know, pander. And I've got Montreal Impact fans loving me right now. But you know what? I need New England Revolution love. Carles Heel, a lot of doubters of him on this panel included. They spent a lot of money. He was not a goal scorer. He was not a box score filler during his time at Aston Villa in the first and second divisions in Spain. But he got a goal on the road, and the Revs got a draw after their captain limped out of warm-ups. Michael Mantien was not able to go in this one. That's a great result for Brad Friedel to get the year started. It's a great goal from Carles Heel. Well done to him. You mentioned the snow game. We talked about it real quick.
You don't believe him?
Huh.
Bobby's over here saying that you were wrong.
What?
No, I actually just don't hear you.
Oh,
okay.
Well, that's going to be tough for you to do this show.
Keep going. We'll see how it goes.
Turn up the volume in your headphones, man.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
The snow game. Let's give that a little bit of time because it deserves it. We argued about the degrees, 18, 12, whatever it may be, but this was an orange ball. It was a classic. It was one of those games that you just can't help yourself, and you shake your head and you laugh when it ends with Andre Shinashiki putting that goal in. Because, of course, it would end with Andre Shinashiki, the rookie from Denver, in the driving snow, from Brazil, I might add, but he got used to the weather, apparently, doing it in 4 inches. I mean, this is a game.
And short sleeve.
Yeah.
And short sleeve.
And then knee sliding in the snow.
Yeah.
This is a game that we will, I think, remember forever. It's one of those games that just like the highlights will pop up and you'll be like, oh, yeah, that game.
Yeah. No, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I don't think I think I would be like Benny. It's not the type of conditions I would enjoy to be at the stadium for. And shout out to all the fans who actually went and stayed. But it was cool because, look, I made some fun of the Rapids way last year because it was supposed to be fun and entertaining and attractive, and it wasn't. Not until August or so. But they really have done some stuff. Cole Bassett had a couple of nice little moves. They had to take him out of the 40th minute just because going down to 10. Shinashiki, a rookie, coming in, getting the game-winning goal. They have a different organizational philosophy, and I think you remember that. You'll remember that if you're a Rapids fan. If you're a Timbers fan, and you missed the playoffs by a point, as they've done twice in like the last 5 seasons, you'll remember this game for a different reason.
Forget that, 2 points. I mean, this is 2 points lost for them at the very, very end. Shinashiki with a nice goal in the driving snow. I mean, the pictures after this were shocking, and it accelerated so quickly.
Did you see the avalanche gif that was going around Twitter?
Terrifying.
Oh, my God.
Terrifying. I'll go back to Colorado, but I'll be very, very careful. Before we get out of here, let's keep summing this thing up, and I want to know who proved the most in week 1, Dave? What team?
I got to say DC. I think a lot of teams had good performances, but I think you can couch a couple of them based on where the other team was at or where the game was played. But DC, they got in Atlanta without PT starting, but they took advantage. They've beaten Atlanta a couple times now, but this one, it didn't look like, oh, they got a lucky goal on the counter. They had an idea about how they could break Atlanta down, and they did it consistently. Hara is a big question mark coming into the season because he brings their ceiling up so much. He had a good game, which led to Paul Arriola having one of his best games ever.
Would you say that they look like an MLS Cup caliber team?
I would say that if you were someone maybe of lower quality than me and you cared more about week one results,
was poor.
then you would really lock in hard on this result and take it to mean you're right.
No, you're right. They did look good, though. I thought Ben Olsen did a really nice job of setting that team up so that they just didn't allow Atlanta to play through the midfield.
Yeah.
They didn't they cut off, and it's the same thing we saw leg one at Herediano. They cut off those two advanced central midfielders from the two deeper central midfielders, and so anytime Barco or Villalba, who was terrible, or Pity got on the ball, it was like you're going 1v3 or it's nothing. And with the way this Atlanta team has been set up in this 5-4-1, if the two deep-lying midfielders lose the battle against the opposing central midfield, it feels like that's it. And Knaus and Moreno dominated Nagbe and Remedi.
Bobby, what team proved the most to you?
Minnesota United. Going to Vancouver and not just winning 3-2, but systematically controlling the game through possession. You guys are right. DC was great. There's some other very good performances, but the team that controlled their game the most was Minnesota United, despite being on the road against what turned out to be a pretty organized Vancouver team under Marc Dos Santos. So any questions about whether Ozzie Alonso still got it? Dude still got it.
One road win in 2019 for Minnesota United. One road win in 2018 for Minnesota United. So they've already matched that stat. That's pretty good. Doyle, what stood up?
One road win ever for Minnesota United against a Western Conference opponent, by the way. So that was
even more jarring.
Yeah, that was really look, we've not as jarring as the Galaxy actually playing an academy kid. And I know we already beat it to death in this segment, but their academy should be like the Red Bulls and FC Dallas combined into one. They should have 15 academy players on that roster and 7 of them playing meaningful minutes. The fact that they haven't is, I think it's cost that team tens of millions of dollars in potential transfer fees. Took the first big step in righting that long-term wrong.
I just want Matt to know that every time he talks about the Galaxy like that, he is showing so much disrespect to Central Pennsylvania.
Mechanicsburg, shout out.
I'm just saying.
How many millions do you think you could have been sold for?
Ooh, that's a good question. In today's market, at least an eighth of one.
I'd say this. I think if you take Central PA and you put Bobby Warshaw and Christian Pulisic together, you could get like $56 million.
Yeah, right around that.
Two of them.
Right
that's a huge number for those two.
I'm going to shout out Toronto FC. Look, they got wiped by Independiente La Chorrera, and it was embarrassing, and they knew it was. And then they went on the road in week 1 without Josie Altidore, who just signed that contract extension, without a 10, who they now have, in Alejandro Pozuelo, and they got a 3-1 win. And Michael Bradley threw it back to Aaron Veen. That was what this team needed to just kind of cleanse their palate, to just say, you know what, okay, that was terrible, it was awful, that's not who we want to be, let's not be that. On the flip side, there's some questions to answer for Philly, and that leads us to this. What's the biggest question left unanswered? And for me, it's, does the press work for the Union? Marco Fabian got his goal. It was from the PK spot. Handball on a cross into the box. Other than that, though, you mentioned Madunianin, the midfield, no Derek Jones, nobody tracking anybody. I mean, Michael Bradley's just in the middle of the box, hands up, waving, like somebody just play this across the 6 because I'm going to tap it in. That's an issue for Jim Curtin.
Fabian and Madunianin just watched him waltz in on that first goal. Very similar on the second goal as well. I don't think they have the personnel to make this system work, especially in this formation. If you're losing the battle in central midfield, and they did, you got to change something. One of the things has to change, either the tactical approach, the formation, or the personnel.
Yeah, another system. You had some questions about.
Yeah, no, San Jose. Matias Almeida's debut was not a great one. The Quakes did that man marking all over the field thing. They drew their line of confrontation about 15 yards in front of the midfield stripe, and then they picked up from there. They got the early lead, they got the early goal, but they weren't ever dangerous really after that. And then it just became a matter of, can Piatti break them down? Can the Impact pull off a play or two? And they did.
They can.
Yeah.
That's the answer. If you're asking that about Ignacio Piatti, you should probably stop. Dave?
I'm going to go positive question.
Nice.
Because you guys have gone.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we did go on the negative side.
But I know they died in the second half, and they have a lot of games, a lot of miles on them right now. But I think we're starting to see the beginning of an SKC team that we're going to talk about as one of the best at what they do that we've ever seen in this league. Just playing out of the back, how organized it is, how confident they are, exactly where the ball should go in week one of MLS action. And that's not something that's going to go away. You're not going to get tired, forget how to do that, or have an inability to pass the ball. That's the easiest part to do as you get into the summer. So this is a team that I'm excited to see high-pressing teams play against them, because what do? Red Bulls are going to say, well, we're great at what we do. We can outdo what we do against anyone. I'd like to see that. And then, two, how good can this team be?
Yep. Bobby, take us to break here.
I'm going to go with Gyasi Zardes, and half positive, where David was talking about, and half still a question mark. And coming into the season, I'm really excited to see what Caleb Porter can do with his style, meeting Greg Berhalter's style halfway. And part of that is getting Gyasi Zardes to not just finish off tap-ins, but to link up with the players around him, because that is vital to the way Caleb Porter likes his teams to execute. We always talk about Zardes' feet, his ability to pass. Well, can he fit into what Caleb Porter's trying to do? I thought he looked way better than I expected this weekend. I was pleasantly surprised with how he did it, but it remains the biggest variable on how well Porter can implement what he wants in Columbus.
All right, that's week one from our perspective. Hit us up, 401-206-0MLS. Text the Hot Take Hotline. Extratime at MLSsoccer.com via email or on Twitter at Extratime. We're going to break. On the other side, Dr. Pete Edwards, Sam Stachel, and CCL Fever.
Are you watching the games or just looking at the stats? Email the show at Extratime at MLSsoccer.com, tweet at Extratime Radio, or text the Hot Take Hotline with any questions or reactions.
On the corner, Sorrow! An Argentine celebration!
Gaston Sorrow, big goal for Columbus Crew SC, a 1-1 draw against the New York Red Bulls. We are now with Dr. Pete Edwards, the co-owner of Columbus Crew SC. Took over after that Save the Crew moving along with the Haslam family. And there's so much to talk about after Christmas in Columbus. Dr. Edwards, thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having us on.
We are very happy to be talking to you here. Very happy to see the Crew stay in Columbus. But I got to wish you Merry Christmas right now, right? Did I say that right? I mean, it's a big day.
It was a huge day. So we had Crewmas Eve on Friday night, and we had thousands of fans all over the city that were out celebrating in all their team colors and waving the flags and honking the horns. We had buildings downtown that turned their lights on yellow. One of the major skyrises downtown lit up the windows to say black and gold so that everyone drove by on the freeway could see that they were supporting the team. So the city really was excited to get the season started and to have the team stay.
We'll go with Save the Crew movement in just a second. But correct me if I'm wrong. I think I saw on Saturday, on Christmas, you tailgating at sunrise. Am I right about that?
Well, you are right. So some of the supporters groups said, we really, really would like it if you could come to they call it their mega tailgate. And they said there'll be 40 or 50 of us out there at sunrise, and it would mean a lot to us if you came out. And I said, you know what? If it means a lot to you, then I'll be there. I can't promise I'm not going back to bed after that. But at 7 o'clock in the morning, we all shared a glass of champagne to celebrate the dawn of the new day for the team.
Take us into Saturday. What was it like? What was the stadium like? What were the feelings like? What were the conversations with everyone as you walked by?
You know, it was kind of crazy, kind of surreal. That's the first time I've ever been in the stadium that I wasn't in the locker room and on the sideline. So to feel that energy on a more personal level was really special for me. I couldn't move very fast around without getting a high five or somebody wanting a picture. So both the Haslam family and myself went out into the tailgate some, and so did our president, and just thanked the fans for coming and thanking them for doing what they did, because really the supporters groups, the city officials, they saved the Crew, and we did a little part, but without them, none of this stuff would have started.
It's an emotional day for the supporters, for everyone, for the players, the coaches, I assume the whole city. But for you as well, Dr. Edwards, you've been involved with this team from the very, very start. What were your emotions like on this day?
Well, not being on the sidelines is a little different perspective. So I really enjoyed the game more than for the last 23 years when I was working on the sidelines, because that's a work day for me. So to be able to watch the game develop from a little higher up and see how things play out from a different angle was enjoyable from a game watching standpoint. But I'm not going to lie, when a patient of mine, Gaston Sorrow, scored the goal after spending 16 months in rehab with me almost every day for 16 months, he ran to the sidelines and he hugged some of his teammates and the coach, and I kind of wish I was still in that line, because that was a special moment for him, and we put so much time into helping him. I wish I could have been down there to get a big sweaty hug from him, but it was a fabulous day. The energy was so great. We really enjoyed having this work out for our city.
Dr. Edwards, you own the team. Don't you get to sit wherever you want?
Yeah, but I don't think that includes the bench.
Got it.
Are you gonna miss that? Like, are you looking down there thinking, maybe I got to switch this. Maybe I got to just trade my position, get right back down on the field, because you were basically part of the team.
For those of us that have been doing it for 23 years, you really are part of the team. And you have players that, I've been to players' weddings. I've been to players' christenings for their children. The players come over to the house for dinner. So it is something that the locker room is a special place. And my role there has definitely changed. So I will miss that a little bit. But at the end of the day, this is what needed to happen for the team to stay in Columbus, and I'm thrilled that it was able to work out.
So I've heard you say, Dr. Edwards, that this club, the Crew, is part of the fabric of both your adult life and your family life. There was a very real possibility that Columbus, you, your family, all those fans would lose this team. How did that feel in the moment? Did it feel like some of that fabric was ripping for you?
It really did. So the day that the announcement came out, I was like, I really was kind of floored that the team was going to leave. And then the rally, the first Save the Crew rally, was organized pretty quickly. And the morning of the rally, my daughter looked at me and she said, "Dad, we have to go." And I said, I kind of work with the team. It's kind of awkward for me to go. And she said, "You don't have a choice. You have to go." So Allison, my middle daughter, and I went down, and I said, I'm going to stay on the side. And when you went down and you felt the passion of, I didn't know if anybody was even going to be there. And there was 2,000 people on the courthouse steps in downtown Columbus, all in their Crew gear, all screaming and yelling and chanting. And that passion that I could feel from the people that day really kind of, even on the drive home that day, lit a fire in me that I had to try and figure out a way that we could keep the discussion going and figure out a way that the impasse between the city and the league, we could skirt around the side of that and figure out a way to keep this team here. Because my kids grew up with it. There's thousands and thousands of families that have this as a central aspect of their family life. It's an event that really has woven its way through the community. And I think the support that everyone saw with Save the Crew and the city and the county and the state all came from everyone's collective sense that this is something we really care about, and it's something that we need to keep here.
What does this Save the Crew movement mean to you? And then where does it go from here? Because all this energy, all this passion, it was saved. Now, what do you do?
Yeah, so Save the Crew is a group of really talented people that are all executives in their regular life, whether they're marketing or banking or technology executives, and their passion is lived on, and the team is really set on connecting with them in an ongoing fashion, whether that's continuing to use their skills or providing them opportunities to continue to be very active on the inside of the club, we just had a discussion last week of having two of the Save the Crew leaders come on our foundation board for the Columbus Crew Foundation. So we want them intimately involved with our organization because we wouldn't be here without them. And their passion and their skill and their sense of community is really, really great, and we want to keep that as part of the organization.
Tell me what you guys aspire to. And we see around the league this ambition that's just kind of burning in all these different clubs, but it burns in different ways, and that depends on the community, the team, the ownership group, the fans. What is the burning ambition now for the Crew?
Well, we have three goals that we like to think about as far as how we're going to handle our organization. One is to consistently compete for championships, and that is going to drive everything we do. The next is have a first-class fan experience. And people started to see this last weekend in the differences that we made. The stadium looks a little different. The flags were all over in the stands for celebrations. We put a lot more people in game day operations, and this is just scratching the surface for what we want to do in our new stadium. So fan experience is super important to us. But the last, or maybe not the last, but a really important one is that we want to give back to the community. So we love to follow the Everton model where we really are a community asset, but we want to be part of the community and we want to give back at a high level. And kids are a big part of that. So the Maffrey Stadium is going to be turned into a community sports center. So we want kids to be active. We think when they're active that they are better in school and that they're more likely to get good grades. So we want to provide citywide soccer pitches. We just dedicated our first one last week in an underserved area in West Columbus. So we want to do a lot of things in the community because we really are partners. We wouldn't be out there even playing without the community. So giving back is going to be really a core value for us.
So I was covering Sporting Kansas City when they were the Kansas City Wizards, and then I covered the building of that new stadium, and I saw Kansas City transform and change. The Crew have been a part of the fabric in Columbus for a long time, since '96, obviously, and Maffrey Stadium is legendary. U.S. National League fans, Crew fans, we all know about that. But on the horizon is this new stadium. I've heard you say 2021. What will that look like? What's important in that stadium? How will that transform this club?
Well, I think the biggest thing is location. And to have a stadium that's 0.4 miles from High Street in the center of our downtown environment is going to be huge. To have all the amenities that are surrounding our arena district that are already there, the dining venues, the bars, the other activities that are there, just being in proximity with that and being accessible is going to be a huge part. But then we're going to build a first-class stadium as well. And you mentioned Kansas City. You know, we will follow their model. We would love to have our fan base and our community be energized behind the team and behind the new stadium. So Kansas City did not go unnoticed. We've already been to Kansas City and talked to their executives, viewed the training facility, walked through the stadium. And so they are a great role model for us to kind of re-energize our franchise moving forward.
Dr. Pete Edwards, a co-owner of the Columbus Crew, in good hands with the Haslam family. They are pushing forward thanks to the Save the Crew movement and the city. Dr. Edwards, enjoy the season. Enjoy your new role. Thank you for everything you've done, and thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you very much. Go Columbus and go Crew.
Go Columbus and go Crew, fitting from Dr. Pete Edwards. I got to ask, guys, have you had champagne in the Maffrey parking lot? I've been more of a tall boy guy in that parking lot, pre-U.S. Mexico, but I like the classy move there.
Yeah, I mean, next time I'm in Columbus, I'm going to go for a bottle of the good stuff.
Yeah, pop a bottle, watch a Crew game.
I have basically done the morning rise tailgate.
Nice.
I've showed up quite early before games at Maffrey Stadium.
Bobby's headphones are going out. You're muting yourself. Good stuff, Dave. Well done. Sam Stachel's on the line now, the Bird Dog. At Sam Stachel on Twitter. You can get his work at MLSsoccer.com. He's a national writer for us. Sam, how is it going, man?
Not too much, guys. How's it going? Happy first weekend in the books.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a wonderful weekend. I got to ask you, Alejandro Pozuelo, we've been talking about this guy for a long time, and the deal is finally done. He is headed to Toronto FC. They get their number 10. This was a long process. Take us behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's a super long, super complicated process with a lot of moving parts. Basically, it's been described to me, from people within TFC, is the most complicated deal that they've ever worked on, most frustrating deal that they've ever worked on. They wanted him immediately. He's coming on March 18th, after the Belgian League finishes up their regular season. That was kind of the back and forth here the entire time. Toronto FC were willing to hit his release clause, which was 8 million euros. Genk were not willing to let him go at that price, at least not immediately. And so that kind of kicked off this long back and forth where Pozuelo was threatening legal action. There's also a rule in Belgium where a player is allowed to buy himself out of his own contract, which, kind of added an interesting dynamic to all of this. You have a situation where, Ali Curtis, Toronto GM, is consulting with lawyers in Belgium about possible recourse. Basically, that would have taken too long for TFC's purposes. They wanted him in immediately, so that wasn't really a relevant option. There was apparently, from what I've been told, a team from China as well interested in Pozuelo, which in a certain way sort of opened things up for Toronto in a bizarre way, just to have that kind of looming threat there of a Chinese team that could come in and potentially help Pozuelo buy himself out, and then, get him in and sign him to a deal. So that sort of, from what I've been told, maybe even greased the wheels for Toronto FC a little bit in a strange way. But, a big-time player. Ali Curtis was quoted in that press release, the best player on the best team in Belgium. So, that's what they're bringing in, 27 years old, a guy who's racked up goals and assists for that best team in Belgium this season. So someone that should add a much-needed dose of creativity to their attack. I know they won 3-1 this weekend at Philly, but, they didn't really have many outlets going forward. So bringing him into camp in a couple of weeks, getting Josie Altidore back from injury, should really get things going for them in the attack.
He's supposed to be a big piece, but he's not going to replace Giovinco by himself. We've heard other rumors, but it seemed like this was the linchpin for TFC to then make other moves. What else should we be looking for from them?
Yeah, so, they definitely want to go out and sign a TAM winger. They've been connected with Jonathan Menendez, Argentine player, 24 years old, I believe. I'm not sure if that interest is still current or not, but it was definitely there at least a few weeks ago. So we'll see. I would expect that shoe to drop pretty shortly as well. But as you mentioned, David, they needed to get this one done first just to kind of see where they were budget-wise and to see where they were kind of with their needs. Because if they couldn't get Pozuelo done, then, the backup target for DP was likely, obviously going to be a slightly different player, fit in a slightly different way, and that'll affect, what they need going forward from that TAM signing.
Gregory Vanderweel. You told me before we came on that he's still training with the team. I think he made like $900K last year. How does he affect their ability to spin? Does it hamstring Toronto FC in any way? And how do they move on?
Well, he's not training with the team. I think he's training individually. But he's still on their books. He's still on their roster. So that's a significant hit, both in terms of salary and in terms of TAM spent on him. So right now, with the European transfer windows closed, the window in China is closed as well. It's a little bit of a tricky situation. They can trade him within MLS up until the end of the primary transfer window in May. I don't really see there being much of a market for him, considering his play last year, his salary, and kind of what happened or what reportedly happened at the end between him and Greg Vanny, which is why he's not with the team at the moment. So we'll see. If a defender goes down injured, maybe there's a spot that opens up. Maybe a team gets desperate. But even in that case, I cannot see a buyer taking on his full salary. So it'll be interesting. There's the option to waive him, but if they do that, then they're still responsible for his cap hit, and he can leave for free, and they won't get any compensation. So there's not a whole lot of incentive to go that route. So we'll see how it goes, but definitely another issue to deal with for TFC.
I propose that we start an MLS GoFundMe where teams can put in allocation money so we can acquire Gregory Vanderweel. He can play on the ETR squad with Adriano and Mario, Brooks, whatever you want. One other person, though, Sam, that seems like he's going to be leaving or is leaving is Giovanni Dos Santos. We've talked to you about this for about 6 months now. It feels like at this point it finally came down on Friday. What do you make of the way the situation finally played out?
Yeah, so, it was my first reaction when I saw that they were buying him out was pretty big surprise. The expectation from everyone I was talking to around the league that, were informed with, kind of what the Galaxy wanted to do, and certainly given what Dennis DeClosa was saying, was that he would be back somehow on a targeted allocation money contract. And the fact that they couldn't get that done, to me, just sort of signals that there was no way to do it within the parameters set up by the league. And I think that's important, that the rules were strictly adhered to. I think it would have set off a kind of a big reaction around MLS had Gio come back. I think you would have seen a lot of teams be pretty upset about that. So I think there was a good sense of relief from that perspective from folks around the league. But yeah, really, really interesting. I mean, Dennis DeClosa even mentioned it in a conference call on Friday that, as of Friday morning, they were still trying to figure out a way to bring him back. And in the end, they just couldn't get that done. So no more Gio, and it'll be really interesting to see the implications of that, not just for the Galaxy attack and their needs going forward, which they definitely need to address now with him and Ola Kamara gone, but what it means for his brother, Jonathan Dos Santos, and his potential future with LA. So a lot of moving parts there still. And, just like Toronto, a lot of things to take care of for the Galaxy.
We rely on Sam Stachel for the details. He's a national writer at MLSsoccer.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Sam Stachel. All his work is available on the MLS app at MLSsoccer.com. Sam, tell Lyle what's up for us. Go enjoy your day, man.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
All the news on Pozuelo and everything else at MLSsoccer.com via Sam Stachel and others. It is time to talk CCL Fever. Just Tuesday and Wednesday night this week, guys. On Tuesday, the two teams that are hosting, 8 p.m., Red Bulls Santos Laguna, 10 p.m., Houston Tigres, a Tigres squad with no Gignac. He did not make the trip, has some discomfort. Of course, they still have Vargas and Valencia. And
both Quinones.
Yeah, I mean, they got plenty. We don't got to worry about that part. Yahoo Sports in English, Univision Deportes in Spanish. On Wednesday night, two really, really good matchups. Sporting KC go to Panama. Independiente, of course, Toronto FC did not do well down there. That's at 8 p.m., then at 10 at El Monumental, Monterrey, Atlanta. This is like the Tigres Toronto FC from years past. Let's run through this real quick. And Dave, I'm going to put you on the Red Bulls.
Okay.
Another Liga MX opponent for them. They are the only team, MLS team, in back-to-back CCL campaigns to knock off Mexican teams. They have a chance to do so and get back to the semis.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting because if you asked me 3 years ago about this matchup, it would be fear. I don't know if they can get through this. And when you watch the game, it's every 10 minutes, don't give up a goal. Every 10 minutes, will you survive? Can we get through this? Can we find something? And now a matchup like this comes out, and I think it has a lot to do with how Red Bulls and Toronto, but a lot to have to do with how Red Bulls performed last year, of excitement to see how what Red Bulls does in MLS, goes up against the top Liga MX side. I mean, this is one of the best teams in the league. They have a goal scorer in Furch who's one of the best on the continent, in the area, in the region. And I have a belief that the Red Bulls can win, but not just squeak through. They can win playing the way that they've established over the last 3 years and doing what they do in MLS. And I think back to when RSL got to the final, and it was like a miracle because they come out of the group stage and they don't have to face a Liga MX team until the final. And you're like, they have a shot at getting to the final, even though they had to go to Saprissa. And now it's, I can't wait to watch Atlanta Monterrey. I can't wait to watch Red Bull Santos, even Houston Tigres, although that one feels a little bit more like a 4 year ago setup. But that's how it as a fan, I see it. I don't know how the team see it, and I don't know how their mentality shifted, but in watching this competition, that's how it comes down for me.
Bobby, you've been on that Houston CCL bandwagon. You've said they have something a little different that might help them. You getting a little bit iffy on that take right now? You want to walk that one back, Tigres?
No, I feel the same about it. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Houston is the favorite against Tigres, but I do think of every MLS team that could have played Tigres at some point, Houston is the best suited. For one, for as fantastic as Tigres are, they've been known to take it off at times, right? They have for the last 3 or 4 years. That's why they don't have a ton of trophies throughout that span, regardless of their dominance. The second part of that is, they might overlook Houston, whereas they wouldn't overlook Red Bulls or Atlanta. The second part is just the way they're set up to sit and counter. And the part that I want to point out is, for the last 2 years, I felt like they could sit and counter, led by Elise and Kyoto. This is Manotas' team now. He's the best player. He can win a game on his own. So I'm interested to see if if that style just happens to work against Tigres compared to what other teams could offer.
No Gignac, but he'll be back, you would assume, for that next one. They're resting him for the Clásico Regio, which is the rivalry against Monterrey. What about Doyle, Atlanta and Monterrey?
So David talked about how he no longer has fear watching these games. I have fear on behalf of our friends in Atlanta. Monterrey are, I believe, unbeaten in the Clausura this year. I think they're second in the table because Tigres have just won 7 straight games, something like that.
6 straight. But it should give Wilmer Cabrera really something to think about. Yeah,
they have Maxi Meza, who they brought in. They have Pizarro. They have Funes Mori up top. They have our guy Jonathan Gonzalez, who isn't even breaking into the lineup these days. I have fear for Atlanta, especially given the way that they've played under Frank DeBoer so far. It's been a janky 5-4-1 in 2 out of 3 games. They haven't looked great. If this was the same team that went into the playoffs last year and didn't give up an open play goal, I'd be like, all right, let's see. But this one, I have fear.
Yeah, there's a little bit of uncertainty, a little pit in the stomach. On the other side, Sporting Kansas City in Panama. I think all of us sat back and said, hey, maybe they're the favorites now after that performance against Toluca. And then they didn't rest anybody. They looked a little bit tired. They've got to go to Panama. They need a result. They need some away goals. If they get an away goal, if they get a result, I think they stay the favorites. They will move on to the semifinals, in my opinion, if they do that. We'll see how their legs hold up with that trip to L.A. down to La Chorrera. All right, we're going to break. Let us know what you think. Which team will get through? What do you think of these performances in midweek? On the other side, the mailbag with Ben Bear.
Are you watching the games or just looking at the stats? Email the show at Extratime at MLSsoccer.com, tweet at Extratime Radio, or text the Hot Take Hotline with any questions or reactions.
He's watching his team search for a winner here. Oh, it's a lovely turn by Diamande! Diamande! What a moment for him!
What a moment for LAFC. Diamande scoring the game winner. And you know what time it is. It is the mailbag. Ben Bear is with us. 401-206-0MLS. That's the Hot Take Hotline. Please text us. Of course, we made a promise. My promise was that I would play fantasy all year long, and I'm happy to report that I did for at least 1 week. I've accomplished the smallest. Hey, let me have seed the doubt.
That's not a
okay,
success.
Fine.
You always play the first week, and then
how many points did you get?
Week 2, I got a text from Weeby 10 minutes before the game saying I need to change my lineup, but I can't right now.
How many points you get?
I had 79 this week.
Oh, 80. So
okay, I'll just beat you next week when you get like a 5.
All right, cool. Yeah, seed the doubt. I see how you're doing this. Juan T, a call to Armas. That's his team name, which is a very good team name. He won the Extra Time League with 108 points, and you know what that means? It means a trash bag full of jerseys. I think he's a Red Bulls fan. Let me move this around for you here, Dave. Help me out here. Let's see what we're going to give him. We're digging around in the trash bag. What's it going to be? Oh, that's a sick kit, though. That is Bill Hamid and Wayne Rooney, but the DC fan
can't hold me back.
Just got a DC jersey.
Wow.
Or the New York fan. That's tough.
I saw the red sleeve and the trim and was like, he might have just hit the lotto.
There's a BWP and Kaku in there.
You should send it to Brad Guzan.
Oh,
wow. I like that, Ben.
You
do one episode of Spit and Fire, and suddenly you're ready to bring it to the
best podcast on the internet.
If you didn't see those quotes, go ahead and watch MLS Matchday Central with Charlie Davies and Kalen Carr and Bobby. We dug in on Bill Hamid's quotes about him being better than Guzan and Guzan firing back after that loss in DC. We're running out of time, though. What's the best of the best from the mailbag?
All right, so Mason sent us an essay where he basically put together what your relationship would be like for a fan of every MLS team. He saw it, I think, done with EPL. He is a diehard Dallas fan.
So it's like if you're dating the team.
Mm-hmm. And describing the relationship. I'm going to describe the relationships to you, and then you guys are going to guess the teams. Okay. Ready? Mm-hmm. It's your first relationship in high school. Love seems intoxicating. However, you have no experience at dating, and you don't know what you're doing.
1996 Metro Stars.
Giving the fledgling relationship no true identity. Inevitably, heartbreak ensues only after a brief success at long distance.
LAFC?
Brief success
at long distance.
It's FC Cincinnati.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
Boom. Leo Bertone there. You've been together a while. Your partner has decided to spice things up to try to keep the relationship alive. You rely on advice from aging friends who have been everywhere, but in the end, your relationship will fall just short of success given its age and lack of structure.
DC United?
Nope.
Age
like
and
the
the
Galaxy,
lack
right?
of yeah.
No.
Or is it Toronto?
Nope. That's close, though.
Age and the lack of
Oh,
structure.
Montreal?
No.
Wait, what?
Oh, Atlanta?
Minnesota.
Minnesota? We're just throwing every name out there. What is it?
If you guess every team, Colorado.
Not really age.
They went out and got Kai Kamara. They went out and got
Okay.
Benny Failhaber.
They got two old guys.
Yeah,
They
but then they got Diego Rubio and Keegan Rosenberry and
Kellen Acosta.
yeah.
All right,
those guys
here we go. One more. Your friend's favorite couple. You are your friend's favorite couple. However, your partner is more worried about their career than your actual relationship, making financial flashiness their number one priority. Also, they're extremely hung up on their ex and talk about them all the time.
And that's the Galaxy with
That's
David
the
Beckham.
Galaxy.
And he finishes it. They even have a giant marble bust of the ex's face in their house. Sad, desperate, and indefensible.
We might have to go back to the rest of this email at a later date.
These things are great.
I wish we had more
What do you
time
think
today.
the next Red Bulls forward is going to feel when he has to walk past the statue of BWP outside Red Bull
Oh,
Arena?
that's tough.
That's
Is it
gonna be a
heel-
great day.
Is that a heel click statue?
It should be.
It should be. It absolutely
Yes,
should
that's your
be.
next column.
There we go. I already wrote that column. Big thanks to Dr. Pete
Design the
Edwards.
statues now.
Big thanks, of course, to Sam Stachel. Sorry, Ben. Big thanks
sure.
to you as well. We
Sure.
we wish we had more time here, but we don't.
Shout
We
out
got to
to
get
Dr.
out of here.
Pete.
Subscribe to the YouTube playlist. Subscribe to the podcast. We'll be here every single Monday and Thursday. Releases at 5 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you on Thursday, everybody.